Hello and welcome back to another video with me, Meoni, for Final Fantasy XIV. This time we have a bit of sad news to share with you, unfortunately, and as you can see, the title of this particular article that we saw yesterday was that Final Fantasy XI's reboot development has been officially cancelled. This was on Gematsu. I'll provide a link, obviously, to this information at the top of the description as usual. But obviously Nexon, if you weren't aware, was in charge of development for the critically acclaimed MMORPG Final Fantasy XI reboot, which was to be a mobile-specific launch, which was basically a remaster of the fantastic 11. And that's not up for contention. 11 was a fantastic game that offered a whole just fantastic storyline full of all those job stories and everything. I think it needs a reboot. It needs that return to sender. I think a lot of people were hyped about this who had maybe not played 11 before and have been put off by the people like myself who have said you need to have a Wikipedia open to play it at the same time. But apparently both companies determined that the game did not meet the quality standards expected by fans of the Final Fantasy series from a creative perspective and agreed to reallocate development staff to other projects. This remaster was announced back in March 2015. This was planned to be launched in 2016. And basically, it was delayed and delayed and delayed. The first screenshots I'll show you on screen are just absolutely insane. The quality, if you've never seen 11 before, just bear in mind the original looks nothing like this. These are the pictures we had, and a lot of us have been salivating over them ever since they were launched, to the public to see. This other page here, which is on GameBiz Japan, which is where this first came from, that's their source. Nexon officially announced on February the 9th that it has cancelled the development project of Final Fantasy XI Remake for smartphones, which was jointly developed with Square Enix. Apparently it was creative reasons. They basically said it wasn't good enough, and they decided to reallocate the development. This is quite sad. Apparently, the background behind the cancellation was mentioned at the beginning. However, the development was difficult. It seems that it was continuing, but at the end of last year, the Korean media and others reported basically that development was discontinued. When asked about this at the financial results briefing, which was a telephone conference on February the 9th, Nexon president Owen Mahoney revealed the background for this and a direction. Basically, it just wasn't there. They weren't happy with it, so they cancelled it. So, is this based on the popularity of mobile phones? Possibly. Is this down to the project itself? More likely. Personally, from a perspective of someone who plays a lot of console games and PC games, I'm going to have the knee-jerk reaction to say, why was this not just aimed towards a console in terms of a reboot? This is something that would look perfect on a Nintendo Switch, for example, or of course PlayStation, where it all began. Final Fantasy games have always been a console-oriented, franchise for Final Fantasy games, and I was a little bit sad to hear that it was going to be a mobile game. Obviously, you could play that with emulators to emulate applications on your PC, but at the same time, it was never going to be the same as if it launched. So this doesn't mean that this is the end for Final Fantasy XI. 11 is still very much going, and still got plenty of people playing it. If you're interested in playing, I would recommend playing on the Azure server. Lots of people there. Tons of people playing it, actually. Quite not as many as you would have originally, but there's plenty of methodology to get through the game. As long as you have that Wikipedia open, like I say, you can get through it. So it's not the end for 11, but this sadly is the end for the most part for the foreseeable future of a reboot of 11. I would like them to revisit this project, maybe use some of the assets that they'd already developed. You've got to say that this is multiple years of development that's basically going to waste. I would like to, I personally would like to see them recycle those assets and produce a mobile game for, instead of a mobile game, but for consoles and PC. I think that's, honestly where they would get the most interest. And I'm quite sad to see that this is cancelled, but at the same time, this does leave it open possibly for the future of maybe seeing the remake, remaster or whatever on other systems, maybe that's a much better fit. But as they said, it was not up to scratch. Basically, it was not up to the standards they wanted for their consumer base, their audience. So yeah, if you want to play Final Fantasy XI, currently the only way of doing that is via your by your PC, and that version is still very active, like I say, but it's nothing like the beautiful screenshots that we saw for this remaster/remake. So a little bit of sad news, but hopefully this isn't the end for 11's development in terms of new exciting ways. And I do think, being a numbered title, this game certainly deserves to be placed on a podium and elevated at some point with some kind of love in the future, but we'll have to wait and see. Anyway, links in the description for these articles and all of the information I've talked about. I'm very sad to bring this to you, but yeah, share below your favourite memories from 11 if you have any, or if you're excited maybe to try this out and maybe you're a bit bummed out by this decision. But much love, enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you all next time.